What it is, my 10-0 Peace and Grease here, bringing you another WDIF, or Where Do I Find? And today we're talking Riven Mods. Now, there's a lot of newer players out there that have a lot of questions about Riven Mods, and that's really the focus of this vid, is to provide an introductory guide to Riven Mods. That way newer players can help to inform themselves a little bit better and learn more about the Riven Mods and the basic mechanics of them. So, why are Riven Mods such a hot commodity? Well, Riven Mods are a unique mod in the game of Warframe that can boost a weapon's stats dramatically. This is why they're so popular, and this is why they're highly sought after. Now, how do you get Riven Mods? Well, you basically got two consistent methods. There's a third method, which I'll go over here in a minute, but and the first way is to buy Riven Mods from the trade chat. Okay, that's first and foremost. So, open the trade chat, scroll through there, scroll through it, and look at, for example, we got this individual selling a Plague Crippeth ribbon. It's got plus range, plus melee damage, minus finisher damage, and if you wanted a Plague Crippeth ribbon, you could scroll through there and look for it. So that's the first way. But let's say you don't want to spend plat on a ribbon. You want to know if there's a way to get Riven Mods in the game of Warframe. The second way isn't very consistent, but the second way can be an option, and that is usually during the dev stream they will release alerts that are gifts of the Lotus, and sometimes, rarely, but sometimes they will have Riven Mods. So just for completing the mission, you will get a Riven Mod. But let's say you're not that patient, you don't want to wait for that to occur. Is there a more consistent way? And the answer is yes. That is the daily sorting. Now these reset daily, so you can run this a new sortie every single day and have the chance to get a Riven Mod. Okay? Now understand that in order to be eligible to run the sortie, you must have completed the War Within, at least, bare minimum. Okay? But you do get a chance at a Riven Mod each day by running the sortie. Now, you wouldn't be wrong in assuming that since the Riven Mod's in a bronze drop, you should all but be guaranteed a Riven Mod. However, the reality is different. And this is all RNG based. And to give you a good example of this is I literally have friends that when I do run the sortie with them, they're in the corner saying, please don't give me a Riven Mod. Please don't give me a Riven Mod. I don't have the space. And here I am in the corner like, please, sir, may I have a Riven Mod? It's been a month. I'm over here acting like like Oliver Twist. And my online friends are over here begging not to get Riven Mods. So it's RNG based, guys. That's just the reality of this situation. You have to take your chances, you have to run the sortie, and you have to hope that RNG or luck is going to be on your side. Okay, so let's say you get a Riven Mod from the sortie or from the alert. That ribbon is going to be what is referred to as veiled or covered. So the ribbon isn't going to show you what weapon it is for, nor is it going to show you its starting rolls. It is just going to have a broad classification of a weapon type. In this case, it's a secondary. So it's a pistol Riven Mod. Okay? Now, there is a challenge on it, and you have to complete said challenge successfully in order to unveil it or uncover it. So you would just simply equip this ribbon on a pistol, a secondary weapon, as it indicates by the name of the ribbon. And then you would complete this challenge successfully with that pistol equipped on your frame. In doing so, you would then unveil it. This will show you the starting stats of the Riven Mod and what it specifically is for. Now, just because a Riven Mod says Bolter, don't automatically assume that that means it only fits one weapon. In the case of the Bolter, for example, this ribbon will fit the 3 different bolters in the game of Warframe. For example, you can put this on the Telos Bolter, you can put this on the Bolter Prime, or you can put this on the Telos Bolter. If you'll notice, this Dacra ribbon here says Dacra Prime. This means I cannot equip this on the regular Dacra, I can only equip it on the Prime. So ultimately, when you get a ribbon, you prefer not to have Prime on it so that it'll fit a wide variety of weapons. But keep in mind, there are going to be Riven Mods that fit a multitude or iterations of a certain weapon. So let's say you get a Riven Mod and the starting roll isn't that good and you just really want a different roll on it. Does that mean that you're SOL? No, you can do what is referred to cycling or rolling a ribbon. And again, this is RNG based, so once you do, what effectively is going to happen is you're going to get a chance at a better roll. So let's say, for example, I wanted to roll this Detron ribbon. You would click on the ribbon you want to roll. You would come up here to cycle. And when you do, you would come down and you would click, quite simply, cycle. And in doing so, what this is going to do is, again, RNG base, guys, it's going to give you a new roll. And as you can see, I get ammo maximum, bleh, multi-shot, okay, weapon recoil, it's alright, I guess. So I like the multi-shot on this, but that's all I'm pretty much liking. Crit chance, status chance, cold, minus reload speed. Now, let's say you accidentally cycle a ribbon you didn't mean to. You meant to cycle your other Detron ribbon, as hypothetically. Well, the good news is you can always go back to your previous roll. Okay? So, let's say I don't like this, or I accidentally rolled this ribbon. I meant to roll a different one, Detron ribbon. In that case, you can actually switch back to it and actually select it. So you're not out anything besides Kuba. Okay? So that's effectively how you roll a ribbon. Now this does require Kuba, and in order to get Kuba, you must go to the Kuba Fortress or look for the planets that are closest to the Kuba Fortress. Just keep in mind the Kuba Fortress does move around the entire star chart, and then you have to run Kuba Siphons or Kuba Floods on other planets when the Kuba Fortress is nearby, or you must run the Kuba Survival on the Kuba Fortress. Now I will be doing a Kuba farming guide at a later date, so if that's something you're interested in, keep your eyes peeled for that. So let's talk about some of the things that are going to affect value of Riven Mods. One was what we just talked about, which is the number of rolls on a ribbon. So this doesn't impact ribbons as much as it used to, because prior, the Kuba cost for rolling a ribbon would continually go up and up and up to just astronomical amounts of Kuba required to roll a ribbon. Now, thankfully, DE has gone in and changed that. Thank you, DE. So now from 10 rolls on, the Kuba cost is a fixed 3,500 Kuba. So you can roll it 10 times, you can roll it 100 times, you can roll it 1,000 times, and the cost is always going to be 3,500 Kuba. So the number of rolls isn't that big of a factor, as much as it used to be anyway, but it still can be a factor. For example, you may find somebody in the trade chat saying Aclex ribbons, just like this one, for example, 0 rolls or unrolled or low rolls. And in that case, the reason they're saying that is because they're saying, hey, look, it's an okay roll from the get-go, and I haven't rolled it at all. So in which case, that should tell you that what my asking price is fair, or should therefore increase the value. But on the other hand, if you're looking at a ribbon that has been rolled, say, 10 or more times, and the roll on said ribbon is still bad, you should know when you buy that ribbon you're at the max Kuba cost, and you're going to have to roll it. So that can impact value, at least slightly. Another thing that's going to affect the value of a ribbon is whether or not it's upgraded or not. Now, this is a stickler for me. A ribbon mod, just like any other mod in the game of Warframe, can be upgraded the same exact way. And as you upgrade it, the stats improve for each rank. So there's a couple reasons why I require a ribbon, if I'm paying 100 plat or more for it, to be maxed, to be ranked up. And that is, first and foremost, the cost to max a ribbon is going to be over 7,500 Indo and nearly 370,000 credits. So that's the first reason. The second reason is I can't see, if a person hasn't upgraded a ribbon, if they were trying to sell me this Aclex ribbon, for example, I can't see the value, the max value, or the max numbers of this ribbon unless it's maxed. Now, a person can link this up, down, inside out, side to side, back and forth. Does not matter. I cannot see the max value or amounts of these stats. I just can't unless they upgrade it. That's the only way I can see that. So, as you can see, my damage is 24.3%. With it maxed, it goes up to 200 and almost 19%. So, with it maxed, I can see those values. I can see the amount. When it's not maxed, I don't know those values. So damage could have been, if I was buying this ribbon, damage could have been as little as 30% for all I know. Or it could go up to 250 or 300%. You just don't know. Now, there will be some people that will say, well, I'll send you a screenshot or I'll tell you what the max values are. No, thank you. Too many scammers. Not interested. I want to see with my own eyes what these values are. Period. The end. Call me whatever you like to call me. That's just the way that I am. So, another factor that's going to impact the value, and this is a doozy, and that is whether or not the weapon is popular. Now, how can you tell if a weapon is popular? Well, the first thing that I suggest is you actually open the trade chat and you spend about, say, 10 minutes watching the various Riven posts in trade chat. As I said, you will see a pattern start to develop as you go. You're going to see probably a lot of Archiplasmors. You're going to see a lot of Amprixes. You're going to see a lot of Somas. You're going to see a lot of weapons, Lankas, Vectuses. You're going to see a lot of these being listed over and over and over again. There's a reason why you're seeing the same weapons crop up just numerous times in the span of a couple minutes, and that is because those are popular weapons, okay? That's why you're continually seeing the same weapons over and over and over again, because they are popular. So that's the first way that I recommend. The second way is the Riven disposition, but there's a hitch with that, and I'll tell you that in a minute. So when you look at a weapon, for example, we were talking about the Mutilus Cernos, so we'll talk about it now. When we're talking about the Mutilus Cernos, and you look at the Riven disposition here, you're going to notice that it has 4 out of 5 dots. 4 of the 5 dots are filled in white, with 1 empty. So it seems kind of backwards, but go with me here. So if the more dots you have, the less people you have using that weapon, i.e., it's less popular. If you have less people using it, it's clearly less popular. They go hand in hand, right? If the Riven disposition was completely reversed, where it was almost bottomed out, that would mean that the weapon is used by everybody. Okay? So, to give you an example, if we look at the Soma Prime here, the Soma Prime is an incredibly popular weapon in the game of Warframe. If you look at the Riven disposition on the Soma, you'll notice that it is bottomed out. I mean, absolutely, it can't get any lower. This indicates that an absolute ton of players are using the Soma. So that's another way to verify whether or not a weapon's popular. If you see it coming up all the time in trade chat, and then you look at the Riven disposition and notice that it's bottomed out, that's a very good indicator that it's a popular weapon. Okay, because it's used a lot. And the Soma is a popular weapon, and it is used a lot, obviously. So another thing that the Riven disposition indicates is the amount you're going to get on the stats of a Riven. The lower the Riven disposition, the lower the amounts you're going to get on your Riven. For example, you look at the Soma Prime being bottomed out here, you're going to notice that my electricity is at like 47%, my crit chance is like 74%. This is a stark contrast to the values on the weapon like we just talked about, the Mutilus Cernos, that is almost maxed because nobody uses it, right? And because it is almost maxed, that means that the values or the amounts of your stats are going to be higher. Case in point, my crit chance is 193% and over 98.5% multi-shot. So the Riven disposition is also going to indicate the amount of the stats you are going to get on your Riven. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And this is why when you see a weapon that wasn't popular becoming popular, you're going to hear players complain about the Riven disposition dropping. And what they're referring to is the fact that if they're still rolling a Riven, then their amounts that they're going to get on their stats are going to be less than they did previously because the Riven disposition is going down. So that's what people mean when they're actually complaining about a weapon becoming popular, like, for example, the Maroditron. A lot of people are jumping on the Maroditron. They're just now starting to figure out how great of a weapon it is. That means that for the Maroditron, the Riven disposition is going to be dropping. And if you're still rolling a Maroditron Riven, a Detron Riven, that means that the amounts you're going to get on your stats is going to be less. So that's why people are complaining about, oh, great, the Riven disposition is dropping on my Riven for my X and such and such weapon. So that's why people are talking about them. So another tip that I want to address real quickly, on the topic of Riven disposition, since we are talking about it right now, the bad thing about the Riven disposition and why I said earlier there was a hitch to it is because the only way that you can see a Riven disposition on a weapon is if you have a Riven for it. If you do not have a ribbon for it, it will not show you the ribbon disposition. For example, on my Astilla, I do not have a ribbon. Okay, RNG does not like me. So because I do not have a ribbon, it will not show me the ribbon disposition. It won't show it to me. Now there's only two ways I can see the ribbon disposition on the Astilla, and that is if I get an Astilla ribbon, or if I get a veiled ribbon for the shotgun class of weapons. In which case it will show me the ribbon disposition for all shotguns because of that veiled shotgun ribbon. Or in the case of the having an Astilla ribbon, it will show me just the ribbon disposition for the Astilla. Now my personal opinion on this is that ribbon dispositions are an important part, or an important stat on weapons. They should be included in the codex. So at any time, a player should be able to go to the codex and look at a weapon to figure out its ribbon disposition. You shouldn't be required to have a ribbon to see that ribbon disposition. Again, just my 2 cents. All right, just how I feel about it. Now, there are some out of game, there are some great websites you can go that will tell you the ribbon disposition of every single weapon in the game. So it's not that detrimental, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, the tip that I'll get back to the tip that I was referring to, which is when we're talking about the popularity of a weapon, you need to understand that why this impacts value is because if nobody's using a weapon, for example, this Flux Rifle ribbon, and you can see that the ribbon disposition is maxed. If nobody's using this weapon, then you're not going to have a lot of people looking for ribbons for it. You're just not. That's a fact of life. Okay? As you can see with the ribbon disposition max, that tells me that while my values that I'm going to get, or the amounts I'm going to get on my stats are great, the downside is nobody's looking for Flux Rifle ribbons because nobody's using the Flux Rifle. And this is pretty easy to verify because just look in trade chat for 10 minutes. See how many people in that 10 minutes say want to buy Flux Rifle ribbon. You're just not going to find any. I mean, I would have a better chance of getting a unicorn that farts rainbows and sneezes Skittles before I'm able to find somebody in the trade chat that actually wants to buy a Flux Rifle. And then we get into the value. The popularity of a weapon can impact the value significantly. So much so that if you look at my Flux Rifle ribbon, it's not a great roll, but it's a good little roll. Now, you can ask anything you want for anything that you can sell in Warframe. But the reality is, I can ask 500 plat for this ribbon, but am I going to get it? Nope, not going to happen. You know, and I see people do this all the time. They'll list an unpopular weapon in the trade chat, and they'll ask several hundred plat, and I just have to shake my head and facepalm. Because it's like you're not going to get that amount. You're not. Nobody likes that weapon, or at least a very limited number of people like that weapon. Nobody's using it, and because of this, no one's looking for Riven Mods. This is a fact, okay? Now, I would be lucky to ask 100 plat for the Flux Rifle and get 75. This is the reality, because there's not enough people using the Flux Rifle, so there's not a lot of people looking for a ribbon. And the people that are already understand that it's not popular, so they're not willing to pay 200, 300, 500 plat. They're just not. The thing is, when you have a popular weapon, it becomes an in-demand weapon. When it becomes in demand, this drives the value of the ribbons up. Likewise, if you have an unpopular weapon, the weapon is not in demand. Therefore, it drives the value of the ribbons down. Just a fact. You know, you like it or not, don't kill the messenger. This is just a fact of life here. Okay, quick tip. If you get a ribbon for an unpopular weapon, or any weapon, the first question you should ask yourself is it worth dumping my resources into? Remember, it's going to cost you over 7,500 Indo and nearly 370,000 credits to max this to rank. Okay, to max rank. All right, to max it to max. And then the Kuba cost to continually roll it to get a quote-unquote good roll, right? Well, the reality is that if it's an unpopular weapon, then is it worth dumping your resources into? The answer to that question is no, it is not. Now, if you have, say, a Arcoplasmo ribbon or an Amprix ribbon or something along those lines, if your sole intention is to sell the ribbon, is it worth dumping your resources into a ribbon for a weapon that is popular? Absolutely. Is it worth dumping your resources into a ribbon for a weapon that's unpopular? No, it's really not, in my opinion. Now, I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, but Peace, you dumped your resources into the Flux Rifle ribbon and you're telling us not to. Well, there's a difference here. And the difference is that I don't have the intention to sell this. I'm actually experimenting with the flux rifle. I'm just messing around. And this has been brought on by just sheer boredom. I like experimenting and playing with the weapon, seeing if I can come up with some sort of a weird or crazy build with a certain frame in a certain situation. So I'm just experimenting and playing around. So do I dump my resources into it? Yeah. But this isn't with the sole intention to sell it. It's to actually keep it and use it and try to come up with a build. Now, if your sole intention is to sell it, is it worth dumping your resources in? Again, no, not in my opinion. It's not worth it. I think it's a poor use of resources. Okay? Okay. So let's talk about stats. How do you know what stats to shoot for? How do you know what stats you want on a weapon? I hear this question quite a bit. And the best way that I can, and I'm going to put this in the most basic perspective that I can, because it can get really complicated really quickly. If you look at the Flux Rifle, the base stats, this is without any mods, you're going to notice that my crit chance is 10% and my status chance is 24%. So you want to look at these two stats, crit and status. Ignore everything else. Just look at the crit chance and look at the status chance. That's all you need to look at. And then pick the highest number. If, in this case, it's status chance. So the roll that you want on a Riven would be status chance, as opposed to crit chance. Again, you can look at this like look at it as like a team of some sort of a sporting team, some type of game. Okay, about the best way that I can kind of really put it into perspective for you here. So you get an invite to join the Crit Chance Kings, and they are currently in the middle of a game with the Status Chance squad. All right, and the score of the game is the Crit Chance Kings have 17 and the Status Chance squad has 33. What team do you pick? Well, the wise man would pick the Status Chance squad because they have almost double the points of the Crit Chance Kings. So go with the highest number. Go with the winning team. And this is the same exact thing you want to do on your Riven mods. You want to get the roll that complements your highest value. All right. Now, this gets complicated when we start talking about weapons that you can actually build for crit chance or status chance. And when you get a weapon that you can actually, have a hybrid build on, that's when the roll gets really, really complicated. And potentially can mean that trying to sell it is going to get very bad. It's going to be kind of difficult finding the right audience. So if we look at the Telos Boltor here, you're going to notice that crit chance is 30%, status chance is 16%. However, if you look at my Telos Boltor, you're going to notice that my stats are 110.5% on crit chance and 75% or nearly 75% on status chance. So this is a hybrid build. Now, what do you go with on your Riven roll? What would you do? Well, the reality is you have several segments of players in the game of Warframe. You're going to have players that just want crit chance. So if you get a status chance type of roll on a Riven, your Riven is going to have less value to them because they want crit chance, right? Likewise, if you get a crit chance roll and you run into the segment of players that just want status chance, your Riven isn't going to have the same value to those players because you have the opposite roll they're looking for. Then you have yet another segment that wants the hybrid build. They want both crit chance and status chance. So if you get just status or just a crit roll on your Riven's going to have less value to me because I want both stats represented. And as you can see on this Riven, I have crit chance and I have status chance. That's what I want. I don't want just crit or just status. I want both. I want a hybrid build. So you may offer me a Riven to sell me a Riven, but it may be crit chance. That's it. And I may be like, no, thank you. I want both. Or I may offer you less than you think. But understand, I'm offering you less for a reason. I'm offering you less because I am going to roll your Riven. Because all you have is crit chance. And I don't just want crit chance. I want both crit chance and status chance. That's why I'm offering you less. That's why I value your Riven at less than you do. Because you don't have the roll I want. And I'm going to have to roll it. So this is why when you look at stats, they can impact the value of a Riven. Because you need to find the right group of people that want your Riven. Now in this case, what do you do? Well, my recommendation is you roll the Riven, and if you get a crit chance build, put it out there for sale. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free to list your Riven in the trade chat. List it up, put a link on it. And if you don't have any takers, roll your Riven again. If you get a status chance type of a roll on your Riven, hey, put it in the trade chat. Do you have any tackles? Tackles. Do you have any tankles? If you don't have any takers for the status, then roll it again. If you get a hybrid build like this, put it in the trade chat again. See if you get any nibbles. Nibbles. That's kind of fun to say. Anyway, I'm kind of going off the rails a little bit here. Forgive me. But anyway, so yeah, needless to say, stats can be kind of difficult. But understand that just go with the highest base stat that's on the weapon. Complement it. Now, understand that there are always good stats to have on a Riven mod. These stats are going to consist of damage. They're going to consist of multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage, status chance. These are always fantastic stats to have on your Riven. So if you roll a Riven and you have anything like status chance, crit damage, crit damage, multi-shot, you have any type of roll stats like that, chances are you got a good one. So look at it really, really well before you just kind of start rolling it again. Take a really good look at it. Now, there's a common misconception among players, at least in my opinion, it's a common misconception that you have weapons that are crit weapons and you have weapons that are status weapons. And if it's not a crit weapon, then you don't want crit chance on that weapon, or you don't want, it doesn't matter if you have a minus crit chance or crit damage on the Riven. Well, that's not necessarily true. Listen, let me try to put this into perspective for you. So when we looked at Flux Rifle again, actually, you know what? We'll look at the Galaxian, because we already looked at the Flux Rifle, so let's look at the Galaxian. So as we look at the Galaxian here, we look at the base values of the Galaxian. Why do I have 2 rolls on that? Weird. I am from Holland. Isn't that weird? Okay. So you're going to notice that crit chance is 8%. Status chance is 34%. Okay? I have run into players, like the other day I ran into a player who was trying to sell like a bunch of comb ribbons for like 5,000 plat each. And on a few of his ribbons he had like minus crit chance. On another one he had like minus crit damage. And I said, look, I'm not trying to throw shade, partner, but how can you justify asking that much plat for a ribbon that has such a monumental negative as minus crit chance or minus crit damage? And his defense and excuse was, well, it's not a crit weapon anyway. Listen, guys, I can't stress this enough. People mistakenly assume that just because a weapon has a low crit chance or low status chance, that automatically that means that it's never going to crit, or that the crit doesn't matter. This is incorrect thinking, okay? Listen, even in the case of the Galaxian, this is going to crit far more than you realize. You want to test what I'm telling you? Take it in the simulacrum and focus on how many times it crits. Even with a low crit chance, it's still going to crit, and it's going to crit more than you think. Test it in the simulacrum, okay, on any relay. Go right ahead and test it, okay? But it is going to crit more than you think. So why would you intentionally reduce your crit chances even more? It just escapes me. It goes over my head. I don't understand it. And then I ran into the same guy with the comb ribbon, had a couple that had minus crit damage. And as I tried to explain to him, that weapon is going to crit eventually, and it's going to crit more than you think. And so why would you reduce the damage of your weapon? And his response was, I'm not reducing the damage of it. I'm like, yes, you are. Your minus crit damage is taking all of the crit damage out of it. So when the weapon crits, you have actually lowered your damage. Okay? So please, guys, again, this is my opinion. Talk to whoever you like to talk. Watch any content creators that you like to watch. And see what they say, and then I'll let you make up your own mind. But in my opinion, there are several types of negatives in the game, and you never, ever, ever want a negative like minus status chance, minus crit damage, minus crit chance. You don't want those. Even if it isn't on a crit, quote-unquote crit weapon, you don't want them. Okay, again, my 2 cents, my opinion, that's where I stand on it. Okay, there will be others that disagree with me, but that's where I'm at. All right? So why do people want negatives anyway? Like, I'm sure you've all seen ads in the trade chat of people saying they want a specific role, and then you'll see at the end with a negative. So why do people even want negatives? Like, what is the deal with that? Like, how does that make sense? It seems counterintuitive. You would think you want all positives. Well, basically what is going on with the negatives in the game of Warframe is that it is a commonly held belief that a negative actually increases the values of your positive stats. Okay? So, as an example, if you look at this Burstin ribbon here, the negative ammo maximum the theory is that because I have that negative, it boosts my status chance, it boosts my damage. It's boosting these stats because I have a negative there. And the negative is going to boost the positives. Now, whether you know it or not, there are two different types of negatives. There are significant negatives that are going to impact the weapon by a lot in a bad way. And then you're going to have insignificant negatives that are not going to have that much of an effect at all, if any, on the weapon. People that say they want negatives want insignificant negatives. Negatives that just don't matter. What are those? Well, insignificant negatives are stuff like you see here, minus ammo maximum. Doesn't matter. Stuff like, there's another minus ammo maximum. Minus damage to corpus. Minus damage to any of the factions. Minus damage to corpus, Grenier, infested, minus zoom. Stuff like this. These are all insignificant negatives. They just don't impact the weapon by that much. They just don't really matter. So, therefore, you're getting the benefit of a negative to boost your positive stats, but that negative isn't affecting the weapon very much at all, if any. But then there are significant negatives, like I just previously talked about. What are significant negatives? Significant negatives would be stuff like negative crit chance, negative crit damage, negative status chance, negative multi-shot, negative damage. All of these types of negatives have a significant impact on the weapon in a bad way, and you do not want them. Period. End. You don't want them. Okay? Can't stress this enough. So if you're looking for a negative, you want negatives that just don't impact the weapon that much. You want those insignificant negatives. Okay? Okay, so in closing, I know this video is long, bunch of information to get through. I'm trying to blaze through it as quickly as I can. But first and foremost, know your inventory, guys. I get so many stories from new players talking about how they had an Archiplasmor Riven or a Lanka Riven or, a Zenistar Riven, and they just give it away for 5 or 10 plat, thinking it's a trash Riven because they don't know any better. And then players just take advantage of them and screw them over. Listen, I cannot stress this enough, guys. Those kinds of stories, they just break my heart when I hear them. I know they do. Okay, I hate to hear that kind of stuff. Know your inventory, all right? Know it. I can't stress it enough. Do your due diligence. Do your research. Find out if a weapon's popular. Okay, find out if a weapon is popular. I cannot stress how important this is. You need to do your due diligence, and this goes back to trash Riven buyers. Now, there's two types of trash Riven buyers, and you're going to see trash Riven buyers all the time in trade chat. Okay, you're going to have trash Riven buyers that are straight up legitimate good people, and they're wanting to legitimately buy trash Rivens. And then you're going to have the liars, the scammers, the BSers, and the people, the Riven shoppers that say they're buying trash Rivens, but they're not. Now, the good question here would be, how can you tell the difference? Well, a simple way to tell the difference between these two types of people is the scammer, the liars, the ones looking to take advantage of people, and Riven shoppers, the ones that aren't actually buying trash Rivens. They're going to say something along the lines of, send links. Listen, my chino. You don't need links to buy trash Rivens. Buying trash Rivens, and I have bought hundreds, okay? Buying trash Rivens works exactly the same as buying prime junk. Meaning, if you see somebody wanting to buy trash Rivens or buy prime junk, you send them a message, you say, I have 2, I have 3, I have 5, I have 12. The buyer sends you an invite, you go to the dojo, you go into the trade, you drop your prime junk, or in this case, your trash Rivens in the boxes. The buyer puts the agreed upon plat in the a box, you complete the trade. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's just that easy. At no point when you're buying trash Rivens do you need links, ever. Why? Because you get to see the Rivens in the trade box. Now, if you want to test what I'm telling you, go right ahead. Here's how you do it. Wait till you find one of these scammers, one of these liars, these Riven shoppers saying they're buying trash Rivens. Send links. Send them a link to an actual trash Riven. Okay? Send them a link. You will never hear from them again. Why? Because they're not buying trash Rivens. So what are they doing? What they're doing is, as I said, Riven shopping. They're trying to intentionally set up a way to take advantage and screw over other players. So their hope, by saying they want to buy trash Rivens, quote unquote, is they're going to get a new player that shows up and says, well, I've got an Archiplasmor Riven, is it any good? And then these a-holes will then say, oh no, that's a trash Riven, I'll give you 5 plat for it. And then they turn around and make a stack and a half of plat on this poor new player's back that just didn't know any better. Okay, so if you ever see somebody saying they're quote-unquote buying trash Rivens, and they say anything either in message or in trade, send links, they are full of it. They're liars. They're dishonest. They're Riven shoppers. They're not actually buying trash Rivens. They are looking for people to take advantage of and screw over. So, if you run into these people, trying to be polite, and you see them say, buying trash Rivens, send link, do not waste your time. They're not worth it. They're not buying trash Rivens. They're looking for new players to take advantage of. Period. The end. They're liars. They're scammers. They're cheats. Trust me. Now, that's going to offend some people, and some people are going to try to defend, well, I asked for links because of blah, blah, blah. Look, dude, I'm calling you out on your BS, okay? You don't like it? That's too doggone bad. Get glad in the same shoes you got mad. You know why you're asking for links. I know why you're asking for links. All the experienced and vet players know why you're asking for links. You're asking for links because you're Riven shopping. We're not dumb. We know what you're doing, dude. All right, it's clear as day. We're not stupid. We know exactly what you're doing. So if you're mad at me for calling you out on your BS, get over it. And if your defense of it is, well, if somebody doesn't know what they have, it's not my fault. Really? That's your defense? So your defense for intentionally screwing someone over and trying to set up a system where you intentionally take advantage of somebody isn't your fault, because that's exactly what you're doing when you mislead people by telling them you're buying trash Rivens when you're not actually buying trash Rivens. You're actually looking for people to take advantage of. How is that not your fault? So please save the BS excuses in the comment section. If you want to comment, go right ahead, but I'm calling you out on your BS. We all know what you're doing. Period. The end. All right. Next thing about trade chat. If you see people selling stuff in trade chat that say PMO, do not message them, because 9 times out of 10 this turns into an argument. If you see somebody selling a Riven that you want and they don't put a price on it and they say PMO as in PM offer, what they are doing is they either A, they don't know the value, or B, they're scared. They're scared to leave plat on the table. They're afraid if they ask 60 plat for a Riven, for example, they'll later find out it was worth 100 and, oh, shucky darn, I lost 40 plat. I could have made 40 more plat. Okay? So that's what's going on there. And so these people either want an astronomically crazy amount of plat for their Riven, way overpriced, or they just don't know because they're scared. Okay? That's the reality of the situation. So use my philosophy. My philosophy when I see people selling something and they put PMO, my philosophy is simple, to the point, direct, and this. If you're too lazy to put a price, I'm too lazy to message you. I'm too lazy to give you my plat. Period. The end. And you're more than welcome to use my philosophy. So if you see people in trade chat selling stuff and they put PMO, don't waste your time. They're asking stupid amounts of plat, or they just don't know how much it's worth and they're afraid to leave plat on the table. All right, so don't waste your time. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, you can test what I'm telling you to be true by simply messaging these people that put PMO and see how many arguments you get into with people. Because they're going to value, a flux rifle Riven at 3,000 platinum. And you're just like, dude, I'll give you, 75. 9 times out of 10, it's going to break into an argument. And so don't waste your time. Okay, so anyway, if you need a more concrete way to value your Rivens, there are some great websites out there that will give you a really good kind of price range that you should be looking at getting for your Rivens. So feel free to reuse those resources because they are very helpful. So hopefully this cleared up some stuff about Riven Mods. Hopefully it informs you about Riven Mods somewhat, so and you feel a little bit more empowered to deal with them now. But until next time, my Tenno, peace and grease.